and welcome to another Warhammer 40,000 faction focus series. I'm joined by Agent of Change Adam Camilleri, and today we're talking about the Thousand Sons. Adam, thanks for joining us.
Change is exactly what we're going to have here, Eddie, because we have 3 brand new detachments to bring you for the Thousand Sons.
How do we think the Scions of Magnus are going to fare in the new edition of Warhammer 40,000?
So the Thousand Sons Codex, the army rule, is one of the most powerful in the game. It's one of the most mutagenable, changeable. You have what you need at the tip of your fingers if you can execute appropriately with the myriad of different abilities, damage dealing, utility, amplifying. I think that just means you start at quite a stable place, moving into something where we're going to have such dramatic shifts in the way we play the game, all of which are extremely exciting and invigorating, in my opinion at least. But I think these all bode quite well. I think Thousand Sons are coming into this edition already in quite a good place, and I think they're only going to get more interesting from there, because while Thousand Sons have had a fairly straight up and down design point because of at times having a limited selection of units to work with, I think the new design space that we have for list construction, that being with the detachment points, is really going to let some of the ancillary detachments that you can adjoin to your traditional strong codex detachments, it's really going to shine and add extra dynamics onto the Thousand Sons play range.
Great stuff. Well, let's have a look at 3 new detachments and what they're going to bring to the Thousand Sons. We're going to start off with Ritual of Regeneration, and this is a detachment that's all about healing your units and really triggers off your Thousand Sons Psychers, which is a lot of units in your army.
Yeah, so once per turn per unit, when a friendly Thousand Sons Psyker unit that isn't a monster, so exclusively saying not Magnus, successfully manifests a ritual, they will heal D3 wounds. And we know when you fail to manifest a ritual, you will take wounds on your unit. And so getting that back on your Psyker at a minimum, I think, is a fantastic way to stay in the game. I've played against Thousand Sons players when the wheels have come off a little bit and the dice just don't rock up for you during that phase, and all of a sudden, not only do you not have your army roll active, but you've taken a bunch of wounds. This is a way to get all of that back and then some in the following turns.
Yeah, and obviously your Thousand Sons tend to be quite durable as well, so the enemies had to work quite hard to take those wounds off you in the first place, because you tend to have solid armor saves, invulnerable saves, things like that, so those wounds back really does hurt your opponent.
Well, exactly right. So this is a Thousand Sons Psyker unit, which is a lot of the good ones, in addition to being able to join them here, there, and everywhere. And of course, all the Thousand Sons Psyker units are multi-wound as well, so this is going to come up a lot more than you would think on face value.
A couple of enhancements in the mix there as well to make them even more durable and get those wounds back even better. You've got one called Curse of Life, which is an upgrade you can give to a Thousand Sons Psyker, and basically means whenever you get those wounds back, you get 3 more wounds on top of the detachment wounds. Yeah,
so this is an interesting one. I mean, so it specifically says you don't get models back unless there's some wording changes I'm not aware of yet, which could well be the case. This is a fantastic, because it says wounds healed, and so I think this is a very special kind of ability, and it's one that doesn't come along very often.
You've also got one in there which is Eruption of Vitality, which is an ability where when your Psyker has died, you can get back up on the roll of a 2-up. That's a really powerful ability for those units that have it. Quite a rare ability in Warhammer 40,000, but one that's almost always taken when it's available. Yeah,
so one of the interesting interactions we've had with Thousand Sons over the previous edition was that the characters was where all of the army resided. You had units, but the characters was where the power was. And a lot of the time, every time you took a character, ostensibly they're toughness 4 with a handful of wounds and a 3-up or 5-up save unless they're in Terminator armor, but they do such fundamentally exciting, dramatic, and impactful things. So much damage from Infernal Masters, giving out premium debuffs and buffs from, Exalted Sorcerers on discs, that you would want to have a bodyguard unit at all times in almost every interaction. This allows you to take one of those pieces and just be like, go kill an opponent's utility unit. Oh, you got shot. Get back up and kill another one. It gives you double duty out of some of these skirmish pieces, and it's okay to take some of these characters by themselves in that role.
So you think about something like a Thousand Sons Sorcerer on a disc,
correct?
Something like that. You whiz it up the board, you do an action or something, take out an enemy unit, can be slain, and then come back into the fight.
Yeah, and then just zoom back to your lines or continue on its journey. I think it's fantastic.
Great. You've also got a stratagem in there which helps you with the scoring, the action play within the game, which is Multitudinous Limbs, which basically means that one of your units can advance or fall back and still complete an action.
Yes, exactly right. And of course, we know it's going to be one of the fundamental abilities, and being able to perform actions consistently is going to mean your score is consistent. And doing it over multiple turns from different positions and places on the board is going to be really important.
Great stuff. Well, let's move on to the next of the detachments. This is Servants of Change. This is a detachment that riffs off the Zangors, both the Zangor troops, but also the Enlightened and things like that. So lots of different things in the mix here. Let's talk about what it does.
So straight off the cuff, Zangors, so the regular Zangors, not the Enlightened, will get battle lines. So you can take double the amount than you would otherwise. In addition, in your shooting phase, while a friendly mutant unit is shooting, enemy units have +6 to their detection range. So this in particular comes to mind for the great bowed Enlightened with great bows. They will just shoot if no other with no other impacts to the hidden mechanic. They will just shoot them from 21 inches away rather than 15, which is it's quite a lot.
And they're quite fast as well, so you could move those forward. You can get a bead on an enemy unit. You could shoot at them in a place where they thought they were safe.
Yeah, and they're a fantastic skirmish piece in the game as it sits right now, and this is going to add a much broader breadth of what they can offer to you, because they won't just be going out there to do actions. You can take larger squads and actually hunt your opponent's utility pieces that they think are going to remain hidden.
Moving on to some of the enhancements. One of these is an upgrade for a spawn unit, and you seemed quite excited about this.
Yes, go the spawn. Best units in the entire game.
I'm not sure that is technically true, but
it's correct. This is Thicket of Bladed Bone. What a name! And a spawn unit only. This unit's melee attacks have +1 armor penetration and cleave 1. Blast on my spawn, baby, in combat. I'm here for it.
So basically, that spawn unit is going to get more attacks against a larger enemy unit in much the same way that a blast weapon would into a large unit. So it makes it very good at clearing enemy infantry, orc boys, guardsmen, guardians, that sort of thing.
And so clearing larger squads is something that at times, outside of Magnus, of course, and who can do anything, and larger units of Scarab Occult Terminators, the horde clear portion of 1,000 Suns has been a little restricted at times. And so I think this is awesome. You just get 2 spawn, run them into the orc boys, and just see how many you take with you.
And spawn, their basic combat attacks are still fairly good, actually. So just having extra attacks is great, even into things like Space Marines.
Absolutely right. You know, they get D6 plus attacks each, and then you add cleave onto that for the pseudo blast. Really cool enhancement.
Yeah. And then last up, we've got Prismic Displacement for this detachment. This is a stratagem that effectively allows your Zangor units to either have assault on their weapons or to be able to advance and to charge.
Yeah, so infantry and mounted mutant. This is quite a good, like I said, this is more getting into the goodness for the great bowed or non-great bowed Enlightened, and really allowing them to activate. Depending on which one you took, you'll have, either side will have advantage shoot, but one of those doesn't really have much to offer in shooting, and the other one vice versa melee. So this is a good stratagem to catch all. It doesn't matter which one you took on the discs with your Enlightened, they're both going to get something really good from this.
It gives you quite a big threat range if you've got a large unit of Zangor threatening the middle objectives. They can all of a sudden run and threaten quite large portions of the board.
Agreed.
Right, so moving on, the last of the detachments we're going to look at is the Sitar cohort. This is effectively looking at the Thousand Suns robots that accompany them, and they can be bolstered with additional psychic abilities.
So, perfectly said, because Sitar robots' attacks have the psychic ability. This is something to unpack in and of itself, because it has fundamentally changed.
Yeah, so psychic used to just be a keyword. Psychic attacks now ignore modifiers to hit. So that's very significant in the shooting phase, because it means that cover doesn't do anything against them.
They have ignores cover and then some, depending if they have any other additional modifiers. So it's already just a great and powerful place to start. So your Sitar robots essentially against units in cover have +1 to hit and ignore any furthers. In addition to that, they will get Infusion, which is an aura, and friendly Sitar robots units within 12 of this unit, which is any Thousand Sun Psyker in your army, will get +1 weapon skill. So they're getting almost the same bonuses I do from the psychic ability in melee as well, and 12 inches is not that hard to engineer.
Yeah, it's worth saying as well, with that psychic ability, that will apply to any of your psychic attacks, which is a lot of the shooting attacks in the Thousand Suns force. So even things like Ahriman, Magnus, your sorcerers, all of their shooting attacks will ignore modifiers.
You have ignore modifiers to shoot the army almost. If you wish to build into it, your entire army will just ignore hit modifiers. And it's really interesting to have that as a new portion of the Thousand Suns identity.
Yeah. So it comes with some enhancements and some stratagems. One of the enhancements is called Oculus Infernum. This is another boost to Sekitar robots.
Yes, it is. So this is for a sorcerer, exalted sorcerer. Only in your movement phase at the start or end of this unit's move, you can select one friendly Sekitar robots unit within 6 of this unit. That unit's ranged attacks have +1 ballistic skill. So not only are you ignoring the modifiers, you're now getting better in the other direction.
Yeah, so you've gone from potentially -1 to +1, so a huge swing.
Massive.
In terms of the efficacy of the shooting.
Yeah, definitely seeing this as a unit of 4 Sekitar robots with melters, and of course they'll come with their associated missiles. And then, just a supporting piece in Exalted Sorcerer, floating around, getting angles to use some of their buffing and debuffing abilities, ranged abilities, Doom Bolts, for example. And then, just giving these Sekitar robots essentially hit on 2s. Nothing you can say about it. They're just going to hit on 2s.
Very respectable. And then last up, a range of stratagems, as you'd expect. One of them we're going to look at is Warp Fields. This is a -1 to wound against attacks that have a greater strength. So a really good way of keeping those Sekitar robots alive.
Exactly right.
This whole detachment feels like if you wanted to build around those psychic robots, you could now make a fairly respectable force with those as almost the core damage dealing force.
And apologies, I think I might have been hitting on 3s on the Sekitar robots. But despite that, I think this is one of the perfect examples of what I was talking about at the start, in the intro to this, in that if you were to just take 2 units of Sekitar robots in your any of the detachment, Rubrique Phalanx, for example, and just take 2 ancillary units of Sekitar robots, and this detachment, I think you just enhanced so much of your army. Of course, you should definitely just take the spawn, different detachment. But this is a great example of you just take 2 good units in your army that bring scout, which is something you don't really get. Of course, that's one of the abilities of Sekitar robots, and you just enhance the way your army plays, completely reinvent
or you can fully lean into it and go, actually, this will be the core of the army, or it can be a great bolt-on to an existing force. Exactly
right. I think this is a very exciting attachment. In addition to the other 2, I love the Ritual of Regeneration as well. Getting wounds back on units, I think, is a stupendous thing and a beautiful bit of the ideology for Thousand Suns coming back into the fore. I think this is a really great package for Thousand Suns.
Great. Well, Adam, thank you so much for your thoughts. We will be back very soon with more Warhammer 40,000 faction focus.